couple of questions on both the diplomatic and deterrence piece. The Baltic states, of course, announced last week that they will be providing anti-armor and anti-aircraft weapons, and Secretary Blinken emphasized that he approved this. Do you think that's an adequate upgrade of Ukraine's anti-aircraft defenses, or are you considering any other more substantial reinforcements?
Well, what you're referring to is part and parcel of a much larger effort on the part of various countries around the world, including many in the NATO alliance, to provide additional defensive security assistance to Ukraine. You've heard me say this already today, but for our part, the United States has provided more than $650 million in the last year in defensive security assistance, more so than any previous year. The $200 million in additional security assistance that was approved last month, I believe the second delivery of which arrived overnight in Kiev. So you can speak to what our Baltic allies are doing, you can speak to what other European allies are doing, you can speak to what the United States is doing. And the totality of that should send a clear signal to the Russian Federation or any other aggressor that Ukraine's partners are providing and prepared to provide Ukraine with what it needs to defend itself.
Right. I've heard questions. Should we expect more Stingers to go to Ukraine than the batch announced, or even Patriots? Anything to? Obviously, there's an imbalance of Russian air capability.
So what I would say is that the second installment, I believe, of the deliveries associated with the $200 million that was approved last month in December by President Biden, those deliveries will continue in the coming days and coming weeks. You saw that there were pictures and imagery broadcast of that delivery overnight, and I expect you'll be hearing more about subsequent deliveries of defensive security assistance in the days and weeks to come. We've provided some details of that. I believe last weekend we spoke to 200,000 pounds of ammunition that was provided to our Ukrainian partners, but we're of course not detailing all elements of that defensive security assistance we're providing.
On the diplomatic side, the French have talked about sort of reviving the Normandy format, or to some extent. Do you see the implementation of Minsk II as a diplomatic off-ramp from this threat of a new invasion? And would that require Ukraine to move towards some kind of special status for Donbass before recovering control of its border there?
Minsk is an important roadmap. It's an important ingredient. We see full implementation of the Minsk Accords as an important way forward. It's also a fact that there's one country that has been the primary violator of the Minsk agreements, and that one country is Russia. You heard Secretary Blinken in the OSCE in Stockholm last month delineate, almost line by line, the various elements of those agreements that the Russian Federation has not lived up to. In all of our engagements with Russia, the United States, our NATO allies, we have made clear the importance of full implementation of the Minsk agreements. And again, there is one core violator of those agreements. Yes?